I admit that until not that long ago, I never really understood what people meant when they spoke of being in the moment. It seemed to me like another one of those new age cliches, like some other oldies and goldies, like find your center and happy birthday. But at some point, I suddenly comprehended it on a whole different level. All of a sudden, it was the clearest thing to me, and I began seeing it in action in many other areas of my life. This was generally a period in which I gained much more respect for cliches, and I began paying a lot more attention to the concept when I could. And I found a lot of it in art, because in order to create something, in order to deliver something real, and also to truly enjoy and experience art, you have to be in the moment. And when writing a song, there are several methods to approach the craft, as each one restricts you in some ways and frees you up in others. But eventually you're gonna end up riffing on melodies. You're going to be messing around on your instrument and create something that will make you feel inspired. This deserves a melody. You might have some lyrics at this point, or just a few words, or even just a nice turn of phrase bouncing around your head. And so you sit down and play this thing on an endless loop and just sing anything, and lots of it. People often ask me how a melody is written, or at least how I write it. It just seems like such a fantastic process, especially because it seems unclear where the melody is coming from. If it didn't exist beforehand, where did it just come from? But when I try to coax them into just singing from the gut and seeing what happens, they almost always refuse. Because it won't surprise you that when playing around like that, you're gonna get some pretty bad takes, even unlistenable ones. And if you're too self-conscious, too self-aware, thinking about what the neighbors or your girlfriend are thinking, or why the dogs are looking at you like that, you will, best case scenario, quit very quickly. At worst, you'll try to write something without embarrassing yourself on the way, which is going to sound like exactly what that sounds like. Because in order to write something that people believe, it better be real, and it better develop out of a real moment. Because if you weren't truly in that moment, then your art can't really express it, as it's reflecting something you haven't experienced, if that makes any sense. And in that interaction between artist and listener, they want to identify with something real, with that moment that you've eternalized. That's why I totally get it when artists talk about the writing process as if something or someone was speaking through them. Sometimes I'm not even sure what I'm writing about, and I don't really care. When you're in the moment, you don't analyze it. As Paul Simon said, it will mean something. The same goes for when you're creating with others. The best work comes when everybody just leaves ego and judgment out of it and just experience the music. It's either good or bad, and that's all that matters. And I think that's what people are looking for when they come to experience music. Not in the background to drown out the actual quiet or the mental noise, but when you're all in that moment, just listening to it or writing it or delivering it. Just like when I was a kid sitting in the dark, entranced by the rising bars of the EQ, totally absorbed in what was playing, even if it was just for a moment.